an audio test. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is an audio test. Any update? I don't have. Just want a lot more work. No. So you do? No, this is it's about 3 weeks old. Your turn. Touch up blocks. It's already for me. It's already been. Here's
Fiona, Fiona, our mic is active.
Yes, well, no, not yet.
We're in it.
All right, sir.
Good morning. Today, the tourism partners, in pursuing our commitment to fighting relentlessly to defeat this COVID-19 virus that has hit not just Jamaica, but the world, threatening the well-being of everyone and definitely disrupting the tourism activities globally, are today making some very important statements with regards to our continued support of the program with our Minister of Tourism, Prime Minister, and the Minister of Finance. Last week, we mentioned to you that the industry had contributed somewhere over $1 million already towards various aspects of the recovery program. Today, we want to start with a further contribution from the Spanish investors in Jamaica. And I'm very pleased to have with me His Excellency, Mr. Bosch, the Spanish ambassador to Jamaica, as well as Frank Soderon from the Angleterre Hotel Group. And today I'm going to open with them, making the presentation of a dollar contribution to the COVID management program that the Ministry of Health is undertaking. Excellency.
Minister, thank you very much for doing this presentation and giving us the opportunity to join our will and our efforts not to this fight with the epidemic, against the epidemic. The Spanish-Jamaican Foundation, you know very well, but the public maybe that do not, is a foundation that it's includes all the main investors, all the main Spanish investors in Jamaica, the 6 more important hotel groups: Riu, Great Palladium, Iberostar, Secrets, Reckless, Meliá, and Gran Bahia, Bahia Principe, and also Global Exchange and Hospital. And then they obviously you know better than nobody, that they have been severely damaged by the present situation. It's a terrible situation for everybody, and they have expressed their will to collaborate, to cooperate with the administration, with the government, because they are here to stay. They are Spanish companies, but believe me, and they are very aware of that, they are also Jamaican companies. They belong also to Jamaica. They have this Spanish-Jamaica Foundation that has been doing a lot of social and education and sports activities, but now they have taken the decision to support the Ministry of Health. So almost every dollar that was now in their accounts has been allocated for a special donation to the Ministry of Health to support the fight against the virus. They have been thinking that the better way should be the acquisition of ventilators, because we know by the Ministry of Health that is probably the thing that is most needed in in these days. Yesterday, I was in the presentation with the Minister of Health, Mr. Tufton, of 29 ventilators donated by the European Union. European Union is trying to double or more than double this figure with a new, but they are trying to get the ventilators in a very difficult times because everybody's buying them and it's very difficult to get them in the market. So we are also trying to support this struggle to get the equipment. Hospital has been very active in that because they have a purchase department that is has a worldwide perspective. And from the embassy, we have been in contact with some of the teams that are trying to introduce new models of ventilators. Now there are in Spain 7 research groups that are fighting against the time to get new equipments. And one of them is made in Barcelona with Siemens technology, and the name is Respira. We have been providing this information to the Ministry of Health. For the case, it can be the best possible option, but we'll have to know. No? The other message is that of solidarity. We live all in a smaller and smaller world. Globalization is probably inevitable, but this pandemic will force all of us to do a reflection and rethinking globalization. And my understanding is we should be leaving this crisis with another idea of mankind, more based in solidarity and in the respect of the human being. And obviously the environment, we are all connected. Anything that happened in a corner in China, no? Nobody knew about Wuhan, no? And now it's a very popular name. Anything in a corner of the world concerns all of us. And Spain will try to be closer and closer to Jamaica. And Minister, it's maybe a small part of the fight, but we are very happy to be contributing with this effort. The amount will be of $200,000 US, and we already know that some of the companies are thinking of doing a special new donations. So maybe the figure, but I cannot promise you, will be increased in the future. So that's I think the beginning of this fight.
Thank you very much, Excellency. So that takes the contribution to date now to over 1.2 million US. I'm in consultation also with the Hendrickson Group, and I have their authority to indicate that they are putting together a package with the Ministry of Health, so that by the next press conference, we'll be able to give the exact detail of the level of contribution that they are making. This to us is very critical because the tourism industry is a critical part of the whole recovery program from COVID-19. We are impacted greatly by it, as you know, but we also must be a central part of the management and recovery activities. So the next element that I wanted to mention in this press briefing this morning has to do with the stimulus package. And I'm pleased to advise that as of now, I'm advised that the government side for the stimulus has already had 7,000 applications, and 6,500 of those applications have already been approved. From the tourism sector, there are 19 entities that are going to benefit from this exercise. And I want to just read the 19 categories. I want to correct that very quickly, not entities, 19 categories. There are numerous entities within that 19 category. And so the beneficiary categories would be the JTB licensed hotels, and they would be eligible for the CARE program and also the BEST program. The JTB licensed attractions, and they'll be also eligible for the Best Care and Tourism Grant. The JTB licensed villas, and they will be eligible for Best Care and Tourism Grant. The JTB licensed apartments, and they'll be also eligible for Best Care and Tourism Grant. Licensed water sports operators, the inbound merchants, the JTB licensed tour operators. And I want to make the point about these being registered in every instance, these being registered categories, and the entities that will fall within those categories all have to be registered with the Tourist Board and JTPDCO. The JTB licensed tour operators, JTB licensed guest houses, JTB licensed homestay, JTB licensed car rentals, JTB licensed bike rentals, the travel agency companies, the raft captains that are located in Rio Grande and the Great River and Martha Brae, all of those, the craft vendors, all the craft vendors, the craft producers, contract carriage people like Juta, Maxi, J. Call, and you name them. All of those are part of the category. Airport red caps, and I want to emphasize that because red caps, we know, were particularly vulnerable in all of this, and I really want to single them out because the minister, in responding to a special request for them, was very, very quick to say yes, of course, because of how central they are as some of the first respondents at the airport when visitors come to the island. Golf caddies, and of course, individual tour guides. Now, these categories, of course, are within what we call the direct and indirect tourism partners. Then there are the induced, the thousands of those who are involved in agriculture and in manufacturing and in the services, in energy and water, and a number of other key areas that are central to the tourism delivery system. And they are going to be captured based on the document that we have from the Ministry of Finance in the other broad areas. So it is now clear that the pathway for the tourism recovery is being laid. It begins with the people. It begins with the workers of the industry. And I'm proud to say that my government has made the first and important move to secure the well-being of the workers of the tourism industry. And it's not just the tourism industry, although I'm the Minister of Tourism and I speak for them by and large, but it's the workers of Jamaica, because this is the most comprehensive stimulus package that Jamaica has ever seen. And it embraces the workers and the ordinary Jamaican at a level not seen in our recent history. I want to make the point that the quantification of this is being tabulated, and certainly by our next press briefing, we'll have a figure to say just how much of that 25 billion package is going directly to workers and tourism entities in general. I think the minister has been very outspoken in terms of why tourism has been literally identified as the main beneficiary of this package, because tourism is the first industry to bring back the economy. Tourism has the capacity, based on its resilience, its ability to bounce back fast from mega disruptions and pandemics, to bring the economy back fast. And so we have to be prepared so to do. So in consonance with that preparatory mode, we have established, and I mentioned it last week, that we were establishing the COVID-19 tourism recovery team. Well, we have established now not just the team by way of a very, very impressive list of partners covering all the sectors. I'm not going to bore you with calling all the names of everybody, but I can tell you that this list of partners represent the who is who of the tourism sector, as well as from the banking sector and from the legal fraternity. And we also have international partners involved. We're talking to two big international consultant firms to work with us in building out the framework for this recovery program. Tourism has to be the first out of the block. We recognize that the changes that COVID-19 has brought is requiring us to rethink, to retool, and to be very agile and adaptive, as well as adaptable to the various changes that it is going to bring. One thing we know for sure is that it's not going to be business as usual, and we are equally convinced that it is going to create some new market opportunities, as well as it's going to create some serious market challenges. And we have to be prepared to deal with all of this. So we are establishing two layers of task force partners. The first layer is going to be what we call the overall policy and strategy development team, which has about 21 members covering the sectors. And then we have what we call the working team. And that is a team that is going to now do the legwork, the hard nuts and bolts work of not just creating the framework, but doing the research that is necessary to bring out the data, analyze the data, and to present data for us to make management decisions. And that team will have more of the technical people, including, of course, the divisional leaders of the Ministry of Tourism itself. I will have those details published in terms of the names of everyone and the categories that they represent, as this press conference might not be adequate to cover all of those names. But to indicate the term of reference of the task force, one is to establish a realistic view of the sector's baseline or starting position. Second, to develop scenarios for multiple versions of the future. That is, we're looking at various models and scenarios as to what the future could be. We're looking at a timeline for recovery. Is it going to be a 6-month recovery? If it is a 6-month, then what do we do? If it is a 12-month recovery, what do we do? Indeed, if it is an 18-month recovery, which is as far down the road as I believe we could reasonably look based on how the global situation, some people feel that if it goes beyond 18 months, God help the world. We don't expect that it will go beyond that. But these scenarios and models have to be created that we could determine how to allocate our resources, how to utilize, our skills and talents in enabling action that will bring Jamaica at the forefront of the markets of the world once the recovery happens. The third is to establish the strategic posture for the sector and a broad direction of the journey back to growth. Very, very important. The fourth will be to establish actions and strategic imperatives that robust and that will be reflected across various scenarios. In other words, once we have established those scenarios, the models, then we must develop now a whole program around each of those scenarios to see how robust development and growth can ensue. Fifth, to establish trigger points to take action, which include plan vision in a world that is learning to evolve fast. And that's about innovation. It's all about how do we enable added value to be given to our process, so that whatever the world is requiring, Jamaica is going to be able to respond to it. We're going to be able to look at even some of the things that we're doing now, but adding value by doing it better and adding a new dimension to enable us to create a better value proposition to the market. And finally, to provide a recovery and growth stimulation framework for the tourism sector. And this, I think, is the big overarching responsibility of the task force in the end, is to make sure that we provide a recovery and growth stimulation framework for the tourism industry. And if I should summarize the TOR, that would be the line that really makes the purpose of this task force. I'm excited by the response that we've been getting from everyone who we have asked. And the cruise section is another task force that we're creating with Professor Gordon Shirley and a number of the main players in the cruise sector. So it's a twofold approach that we're taking to this task force recovery, and we're calling it the Plan Ahead team. And this will be the Plan Ahead team that will be out there to make sure that Jamaica's tourism is ahead of the game. That the minute the source markets turn around, Jamaica is right there, and we will be open for business and getting business. So we feel that the cruise lines and the airlines, and all our other partners are going to be part of this wider collaboration, because this team is not going to be focusing only on internal things. We're going to have to be looking at what's happening with our partners, what's happening in aviation, what's happening with the airlines in particular, what is the situation in terms of their own economic condition, what's happening with the cruise lines, what's happening in terms of their refinancing arrangements and all the aspects of their redevelopment plan to get the industry back on track. And finally, I want to indicate that where the recovery programs are concerned, the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center that we have established here in Jamaica will be playing a very definitive role in this recovery exercise. Because much of the research that is going to be done, much of the academic work is going to be carried through by the center. The center also will be looking at the Caribbean region. And at another press conference, I will be talking about that regional approach that we're taking. The center is also being called upon to provide global responses. And perhaps I should just give an indication that we are in the process of working with the African Tourism Board to look at what is being called the Africa Hope for Tourism, which is a continent-wide response. And the Resilience Center is being asked to formulate the strategic approaches for that, being given a policy paper that the board is working on at this time. So Jamaica is not just talking about itself here. Jamaica is not just talking about how do we build back our product in Jamaica and how do we make ourselves fashionable and at the highest level of response in the market. But we are also saying that Jamaica has an international role that we're playing in helping to build back global tourism. The final item that I wanted to update you on is the support that we are giving to the farmers of Jamaica. And I'm so very pleased that the tourism linkage network that we gave energy to over the last 4 years has come of age to the point where we're able to use technology to support our small farmers and our farmers in general in connecting their supplies to our market. And now that the hotels are closed, we are working with them to enable connectivity to restaurants and to supermarkets, and to also provide opportunities for community marketing arrangements. And this morning I had a final discussion with Caroline McDonald Riley, who is head of our network, and who has been working with Minister Green and Minister Hutchinson from Agriculture about other initiatives to enable the supplies that are now in the field to be taken off the farmers and provided to support the stimulus in the various communities that are related to tourism. And I wanted to make this point because I think it is important. Tourism can't respond to everything, but I believe we have a responsibility to deal with the communities that are immediately around the hotels. They have problems. And in trying to help all around, the network is working with the farmers so that we can hope to help to provide supplies access for people who are having to respond to the quarantining arrangements, the Tanner Yard policy, that the supplies need to get to them. And so the network is working with the farmers to enable that connectivity. Okay.
You ready for questions?
Any questions?
Sorry, ready? Okay.
Yes.
So can we, sir, we're gonna ask that persons who want to speak unmute their mic, correct? And okay, so you can just continue, sir. So we're gonna direct it to the persons who are now in on Zoom.
Okay, now we're ready for the Q&A, yes?
They're able to put up their hands, right? Right, so ask them to unmute themselves and.
So I think the procedure is that you would unmute yourselves
Ask a question.
and,
Back on mute.
and then ask the questions or wave a hand and then go back on mute, all right?
Minister, Siobhan Campbell, Nationwide News. I just have two questions. The first is regarding the stimulus package. You said there's been some 7,000 applications which have been approved. What is the expected turnaround time for people who are essentially might be hanging on at a thread to actually get the grants that they require? And my second question is, you talk about the recovery of the industry long term. You're expecting a speedy recovery, but considering the nature of a pandemic, people might be hesitant to travel in the short and medium term. What is an expectation of when we could see a normalcy return to the industry?
Okay, firstly, I think that the turnaround time, if you notice, 6,500 have been approved already. So we expect that later, I'm not able to speak categorically for the Ministry of Finance, but the way that they have been working and the efficiencies that they have displayed, I would say in the 2 weeks, you would see the first set of beneficiaries coming out. Bearing in mind that the contribution, particularly from the point of view of the set, is in relation to a fortnight payment. The second question relates now to the timeline for recovery. That's a moving target, as you know, and a lot of it will, depends on how quickly some of the source markets pull out of this problem. The US is our main market, as you know. More than 75% of all the visitors who come to Jamaica, cruise and stop over, come from the United States and Canada. And that's very important that we watch carefully how they are handling and responding and recovering. So if you notice, we've spoken about a number of scenarios. The first scenario we're looking at would be the 3-month scenario, which would take us to the end of May, say June. That's the first scenario. That one doesn't look as viable, so we have to look at scenario 2, which is taking us into September, October. That's a scenario that I want to focus a little bit on, because I think about September, we'll begin to see the turnaround, and I think borders will begin to open, and airlines will begin to make initial forays. This is not to say that they'll be flying everywhere yet or flying in Jamaica. So ideally, December, January 21 is where I am looking for
begin to get back to.
we begin to get back to normal,
Pre-COVID.
and then we move on to growth.
All right, anyone else? Minister, you can ask,
Can I ask if
Yes, okay, anyone else?
let them unmute the mic and ask.
somebody's
question.
unmuted?
Yes. Remember to unmute and then
Ask the question.
ask the question.
All right, just in the interim for Facebook, Shelley Ann Thompson, JIS, is asking to state a few of the opportunities and challenges that are being identified that you have alluded to. Thank you.
Well, Shelley Ann Thompson
JIS.
from GIS is asking for us to indicate some of the opportunities that we have alluded to here. Well, the opportunities I think exist for us to innovate. And I think that innovation for us means adding value to what we are offering. The new look tourism is going to focus, I believe, heavily on destination assurance. The quality of the tourism ethics as it is displayed. And one of the good stories that Jamaica has to tell the world is that we are the first country to have a tourism ethics manual that will help to define how guests and visitors and locals would behave, how workers will behave, how management behave in relation to workers. The health ethics is another key area that is going to, I think, play a big role in terms of the destination arrangements for Jamaica. And the good work that the Ministry of Health is doing with us is going to stand Jamaica in good stead in relation to being placed as a desired destination because we have health security and there's safety here in Jamaica. The other opportunities in terms also of technology, because technology is going to play a new and exciting and far-reaching role in the new tourism that is going to emerge after this. What the current practices are showing us is that with technology, we can achieve a lot of productivity at home. So a new norm is emerging in terms of that and how we could utilize technology to serve the industry from anywhere. The other opportunity, I think, is going to be for our small farmers and our farmers, because they are learning now how to connect with the industry. They are now using technology and for the first time appreciating that they can now find out what the goods are that the industry needs, and they can go to their farm and to produce against that. So I see a number of new opportunities emerging here. Another one that I think that is useful to think about is the ground transportation providers. They are now going to recognize the importance of geopositioning and how to use technology to be able to determine where they're going, who the passengers are, and to give a greater sense of security to the visitor as to the quality of the service that is being provided by our ground transportation. So there's a whole range of new opportunities, I think, that is emerging. I didn't mention in this round the work that is being done in terms of the online training program that the Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation is carrying through. But that again offers another level of opportunity for our workers to scale up their skills and to be able to come back after with a good sense of how agile they can become in the workplace and indeed what the new workplace is going to look like.
Minister, I'm going to just carry on for Facebook. Todd Kaplan is asking, are there any flights from MBJ to the US for any US citizens still in the island?
This question is from
Todd Kaplan.
Todd Kaplan from Facebook, and is asking if there are any flights available now from MBJ for any US citizen. The answer
Very few.
no, there is none at the moment.
None, okay. One last one for Facebook, and then we can try and invite
Yes,
persons
okay,
from.
so we get one more from Facebook and then we go back,
to
yes.
Zoom. So Walter is asking, would you be actively targeting countries other than the US that have already passed the crisis to create additional sources of tourists coming into the island when we?
Absolutely. Walter is asking if we are going to be targeting other countries than the US who have gotten past the crisis in our new marketing approach. The answer to that is very much yes.
Okay. Can invite.
So now,
from Zoom.
can we invite, yes? I'm sorry, we're not hearing you. Oh, we're just barely hearing our flights available.
It's you.
Okay. Anyone else on? Anyone trying to unmute? No? All right, another question from Facebook, Damian Salmon is asking, has any ground been covered throughout the tourism agricultural linkages system to purchase goods to assist tourism workers in need?
Well, I think the question is another question from Facebook, which is asking if any steps have been taken to acquire goods from the agricultural sector for tourism workers who are in need. I think we just explained that the Linkages Network is working with the farm community to enable supplies to be made available in tourism communities. We can't say that those are necessarily going to be for giving away purposes, but certainly, you know, we will ensure that access to farm produce by the small entrepreneurs in these tourism areas can be effective. Yes.
May I put your question?
Yes, sure.
Yes, Minister. A last question. I don't know if the last. My last question. But I will begin with a reconnaissance. No, I think that I have to pray. I praise you and your government because you've been ahead of other governments in the reaction and in the confrontation of the pandemic, and I think that's allowing you to be more prepared for the recovery. Also, that you have had a policy of preparedness, and you were pushing for this center of resilience, and I think it's a strategic move, no? That Jamaica is ahead of many other countries. But I would like to know if you have a vision of how it could improve multilateral cooperation in the World Tourism Organization or even in the World Health Organization. My belief is that we need more cooperation, more multilateralism approach. And I believe that Jamaica can play a role in pushing for that, no? In pushing for more international cooperation.
Absolutely. I think the comment I made about the Resilience Center's role now in the global space is critical to respond to what you ask. The fact that Africa, the continent of Africa, is utilizing resources of the center, the Caribbean area, and we're looking at also areas of Latin America and South America. Indeed, this is a moment when I think all the world has to recognize the need for us to collaborate, because building back a tourism industry globally is not going to be the function of a single state. We're going to find new relationships that will emerge. New markets are going to emerge as a result. New demographics are going to emerge in terms of the focus. Previously, the baby boomers were the big focus because that was the rich component of the market, while the baby boomers' children, the millennials, were struggling to find their place. The new tourism might very well see that it is the millennials who are now the predominant and preeminent group. So that's a new demographic. So you have to cater to that and to respond to that. Also, because of the geopolitical realignment that may come after COVID-19, there is going to also be the need for tourism to be inserted in there, because we are the industry that focuses on peace. We are the industry that focuses on diversity. We are the industry that focuses heavily on building relationships between cultures and become the bridge of understanding between nations. So tourism is going to play, I think, a seminal role in enabling a better world order to emerge after COVID-19.
One more question from Facebook.
Yeah.
Minister Andre Palmer, JS, can you name the chair of the tourism task force?
Well, I'm chairing the task force along with the permanent secretary, while the working group will be chaired by the consultant team that we will be putting together. I wanted the working group to be focusing on technical deliverables, while the task force in general will be looking at policy and strategies and overall framework development.
Okay. Just one last time for Zoom, sir, if you can ask anyone else, and then you can do a closing statement.
Anyone else who wants to ask a question? Okay. I want to thank you for sharing today with us. This is, as I said, the second in a series of these briefings that we're going to do, showing the various stages of development and planning for the recovery program for tourism in Jamaica, and also Jamaica's contribution to global tourism recovery. We will be getting more granular as the process flows, where we'll be providing you with far more detailed information about the beneficiaries and who have actually benefited, what percentage also of the industry that has benefited, because I think that's very important. But we're going to keep you up to date with the contribution that the industry is making to the overall COVID-19 management of Jamaica, because tourism has to show the greatest level of responsibility in this exercise so that we can recover fast and have growth return to the economy of Jamaica. Thank you very much for sharing today with us.